Welcome to Monday. It's July 7th, 2025, your day weather podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at wyomingadvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, there's going to be more severe weather headed our way in the days ahead, especially along and east of the Divide. As we know, it was a really busy weekend of thunderstorms as that monsoonal moisture plume still really affecting things. And that means with very moist air east of the Divide, dry air west of the Divide, daytime heating, a few upper level triggers, and we're going to see some severe weather. We'll show you where. And then for a good part of the week, for you folks in the plains, the Dakotas, the upper Midwest, central and eastern Nebraska, down into Kansas, maybe as far south down as Oklahoma, and you're going to have just daily thunderstorms and quite a bit of severe weather at times. It's just the right mix. That subtropical moisture plume, which was part of the problem and one of the big reasons for the big flooding in Texas. That moisture is just hanging around, nothing to really sweep it out here for most of the week. But drier air does push in a little bit more midweek. So front range I-25 corridor areas will get a little bit less in the way of thunderstorm activity midweek, but those plains areas will keep it. When is the next plume? When is the door open again on the next plume of moisture coming up from the southwest? We'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, with all the weather, I got so many photos in over the weekend. I don't know if I got everybody in, but if I missed your photo, don't worry, I'll try to get it in here over the next couple of days. But just some spectacular photos. This was a common sight, really going back to mid to late last week through the weekend, with showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon, lingering into the evening and nighttime areas there. So really all throughout the region, just scenes like this, towering cumulonimbus clouds with beautiful animals seen from hundreds of miles away. And the pattern that is going to be in place today and tomorrow will lead to similar situations. So two views of the same anvil there from different perspectives. Got the moon in that shot there. And then really all across the Intermountain West and into the western high plains, leading to some beautiful sunrises, sunsets, rainbows, the calm after the storm in that photo there. Nice color there around the Tetons and around the Jackson Hole area. And we did see quite a bit of rainbow activity after these big thunderstorms rumbled on through. And boy, got a couple of great mammatus clouds. This seems to be the year of mammatus clouds. Another wonderful shot there near Crawford, Nebraska, after some heavy thunderstorms rolled through there over the weekend. Another shot of a rainbow in Platte County, Wyoming. And then a familiar sight that a lot of you saw, as I know a lot of you were outdoors over the weekend. If you were a cloud watcher, you had a lot of fun. Mammatus clouds from South Dakota to Nebraska. Now here's a shot of mammatus in the Billings area. Heavy thunderstorm going through the Hoback Rim area, then into the upper Green River Basin of Wyoming over the weekend. And there's another shot looking towards the Tetons from Victor, Idaho over the weekend. Love it when you get scenes like this, when you have the vistas, the prairie, and then the big thunderheads off into the distance there, looking at a thunderstorm that's deep into Kansas, looking from southeastern Colorado, and then all the way back. And it's been good to see moisture in parts of Oregon and northern California with this monsoonal moisture, as you can see here from Bend, Oregon. And the folks up at the Worland, Wyoming Air Base, the SEAT folks, been a bit busy working the Coyote Run fire, triggered by lightning here about a week or so ago. And a lot of lightning activity, likely going to be a situation and a concern again for more fire activity to get fired up. Let's hope that's not the case. Another great shot from the cloud buildup late last week and over the 4th of July weekend. And then a lot of folks in southeastern Wyoming got treated to a shelf cloud. We had a line of thunderstorms that went through southeastern Wyoming Sunday afternoon. And a lot of times when they line up like this, you'll get the formation of what's called a shelf cloud right ahead of where you can see the rain shaft right here. So a lot of folks observed it. Jan Curtis, Johnny on Spot, runs up the hill, gets a wonderful photo. Then we've got a time lapse that Jan sent. We'll show you here in a moment. But a lot of folks in southeastern Wyoming witnessing the same phenomenon as it rolled on through. Very heavy rain, strong wind gusts as it came on by. Luckily, there weren't many hail reports, thankfully, with that thunderstorm. Another shot of the shelf cloud there. Beautiful, and it extended a long distance. That's why it took up so much of the sky. Now, when we put all of this in motion, you can really see how the cloud formation came to be as it came in along with a few lightning strikes. Beautiful shot. And then you can see in the upper left-hand corner there, you can get more photos that Jan took of the lightning and the thunderstorms and that shelf cloud. Look at that lightning strike there, right there at the last frame. If you go to Flickr at Northern Nights, and you can follow along for more. The satellite photo this morning really explains things very, very well. This is kind of the scenario here to start the week. We got the dry air punching in from the deserts. We still have, you can see the gray, along and east of the divide from the Pacific Northwest, we still have a lot of subtropical moisture. Subtropical moisture down here right now being suppressed a little bit, but it's still over northwest Mexico. So dry air west of the divide, moist air east of the divide. We're going to have little disturbances come across the Pacific Northwest and the northern U.S. over the course of the next several days. And so there's a little wave you can see over western North Dakota by noon today. So this will have a little bit of a cold front. It's going to interact with the moisture and daytime heating, and boom, you're going to get showers and thunderstorms again. And we do have later in the day another little push of subtropical moisture coming into the plains. So we're going to have a busy day. The precipitative water showing the white and the green where the moisture is, that nose of dry air. I've seen this 1,000 times. So you're going to get severe weather today. And here it is. We have a double area of enhanced. ENH means enhanced. So when you start to see enhanced on these graphics from the Storm Prediction Center, your odds of severe weather is very, very elevated. You can see that we've got several different shades of severe weather that will be found in the high plains back to possibly the Front Range. And there is a tornado risk, a pretty good one, as you can see there. And there's a large and extensive north-south axis of a hail risk as well. And the thunderstorms already off to an early start. This is by noon today. So you can see the lightning strikes from South Dakota into central Nebraska. They are pretty impressive. So they're going to be off to an early start and continue and rumble through the late afternoon and evening hours. So you can see where the thunderstorms are going to be is where that moisture is. By tonight, the thunderstorms continue into south central and southeast Nebraska. They could be very big rain producers, and they could produce some severe weather there. Drier air gets a little bit more to the east Tuesday, but remember, where there's white, you're still looking at an adequate amount of moisture for thunderstorm activity, but the dry air gets pushed a little bit more. There's another little plume coming into Arizona and even into the deserts of California. So the thunderstorm risk looks like this tomorrow, shifting a little bit more east, a little bit more south. Then on Wednesday, the drier air gets further east. So the drier air pushes that more moist air into here. So that's where the activity will be for the second half of the week. Some thunderstorms coming into the desert southwest, but this is dry air is a little bit of a shield to really limit the thunderstorm activity midweek in the central and the northern Rockies. So you can see by Wednesday, the thunderstorms are going to be a little bit further east, but staying very, very busy in the Dakotas, Nebraska, all the way down into Texas. So the risk of severe weather is more towards the Dakotas and Nebraska on Wednesday. Drier air pushes more into areas west of the divide and starts to get into the I-25 corridor. So when we get to the end of the week, this is for Friday, we can see these little waves keep going along the U.S.-Canadian border. This will keep us from getting too hot. This kind of is regulating the heat and not allowing the heat to build for too long. The subtropical moisture is making a big trip across Mexico, out in the Pacific, then coming back again. So there's going to be some thunderstorm activity along the U.S.-Mexico border into the deserts of California, into southern New Mexico, southern Arizona as the week wears on. But there's a suppression because of the wind flow is not right to bring it further north. And this front is going to produce, so for you folks in Montana, the Dakotas, south central Canada, Thursday and Friday, there's going to be severe weather. Just count on it. Thursday and Friday, it's going to get storms are going to be strong up there. There's going to be severe weather later in the week. We'll address that a little bit more tomorrow. So when is the next monsoonal moisture plume set up? Well, it looks like right around the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th of July, which is climatologically speaking, usually when another plume comes in. So a lot of you who go to Cheyenne Frontier Days always make a remark that there always seems to be more thunderstorms around that time frame, and there is, because the 3rd and 4th weeks of July, you tend to get a pattern that brings moisture back, and that's exactly what happens. The flow of air starts to come back in. We get the help from the high, we get the help from the low. So the next deeper plume that's going to work its way further north is going to be right around the 17th, 18th, 19th of July. Between now and then, kind of back and forth from drier air to wetter air, and back and forth that you'll get in the summer season. The precipitable water by then, by the 18th of February, starts to fill up again across the west, and that'll get us back into the next monsoon plume. Have a good Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.